What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the TTB Ravens Media Trust the Bank live with the viewers. If this is your first time joining it live with the viewers, how this works is myself and Joshua. Normally, we've always had guests before. Didn't get a guest for this episode, so if y'all ever want to be a guest, DM me on Twitter. We'll add you to the stream, that type of stuff. But how this works is y'all ask any questions. Doesn't even have to be Ravens related. Obviously we know the most about Ravens related stuff, but we can talk about other things if y'all want. We'll talk about it. We'll get into it and go from there. I will say my sister's grad party is today. So we, if it's loud in the background, I apologize, but that's just how it goes. Hopefully it's not like overly loud and it's too difficult for y'all to hear. Hopefully it should work out okay. Obviously happy June 19th, Juneteenth. If y'all don't know, national holiday. I'm pretty sure it was declared that this month. It was declared an actual national holiday. Or did it go through the Senate? I can't remember. Pretty sure it's a national holiday now.
Yeah.
So happy Juneteenth, everybody. But let's see here. We got some people in the chat. We got Warden Zero saying, here we go. We got Joe Knight finally being able to make it to a live stream. We got the GOAT, the greatest Bengals fan ever. We got T. Higgins, the GOAT, the ultimate troll. What's going on? We need like an acronym that we can call this man. What do we got to call it? We just gonna call him T. Higgins? It's not like you can be much worse than T. Higgins at football, so I'm pretty sure T. Higgins would be an adequate nickname for him. Sorry, T. Higgins.
Be one of our guests, man, for real, man.
Yeah. We got Warden Zero saying, if I didn't work on Saturdays, I'd be with you fellas. Yeah, but you're here today. I see Warden Zero on Twitter, always asking for it to be on Sundays. But one day we will have a Sunday show. Cam Neal knows what's up. Leave a like and subscribe. Yes, let's see how many likes we can get on this stream. Honestly, I have no idea how many it will be, but we'll find out. I don't even know how many we're at. I don't really know how to check that very well. But Cam Neal says that he's out shopping, so he's going to catch the replay later. All right, we'll see you later, Cam Neal. I'll see you in the comments after. Like usual, we got Donovan in here. What's going on, Donovan? Obviously, T. Higgins, the GOAT, laughing at my joke. But here's the first question. This is coming from Joffrey Okonkwo saying, what expectations do you have for Rashad Bateman going into the season? Yards, touchdowns, etc. In my personal opinion, I don't think he's going to have that much. And that's not a knock against his skill. It's a compliment to how good the Ravens core is. This isn't a situation like he's coming into, the Packers if they didn't have Devontae Adams, where it's like, oh, they have no other wide receivers. We have good wide receivers on this team. Our fourth and fifth wide receivers are better wide receivers than we've had as our number two wide receivers for the last couple of years, that being Tylan Wallace and Devin Duvernay. So the core is going to be really good. Obviously, the Ravens don't throw the ball a lot. I would love if Bateman was able to get 800 yards. And honestly, I'm going to say lower touchdown total. I'm going to say like 6 touchdowns just because Hollywood is so deadly in the red zone. In addition to Mark Andrews and the rushing attack in the red zone, I don't think he's going to get a ton of touchdowns. I would love for him to go for 1,000 yards. I don't think it's going to happen just because of how little we throw, how many guys we have. I would say 800 yards, 6 touchdowns would be a really good season for Bateman, in my opinion. But obviously anything better than that is a better season. But what are you thinking, Joshua? What are your expectations for Rashad?
Honestly, that's about the same number I was about to say like 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. I mean, for the simple fact, look at the wide receiver core now. Marquise, Sammy Watkins, Devin Duvernay. We're not going to count Miles Boykins because he's a flex tight end. I'm gonna say it all the time. James Prochet, if he actually gets that opportunity to flourish and shine in the preseason and it translate over to the regular season, And we added our new rookie addition, what will be our eventually our number one receiver, in Rashad Bateman. He's a good route runner. Marlon Humphreys and gave him praise, and he's been sticking on him. And Marlon pretty much say like EDC knew what he was doing when he drafted this young man right here. So when you got the veteran guys, some of the top players, sticking him in practice and seeing what this young man can do, he's destined for greatness. Now the thing is, this passing attack, it's not, we kept on, we've been preaching it. It seems like they're committed. Greg Roman, he may have gave us the smoke screen of talking about it's going to be different types of offensive systems and schemes this year. I mean, we have T. Martin, we have Keith Williams. So I guess we could say that shows a level of concern or importance it is to create that passing game. So I definitely see Rashad in that crowded wide receiver room doing about 800, 700 yards. Especially the yards at the catch is something we definitely needed, even though he is a home run hitter. And shout out to Marquise, because him and T, either it was T or Keith, they actually been having a relationship since 2016. Actually. Yeah. So, I definitely see Rashad 800 to 700, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty realistic. I see the Blue Bloods in here. Shout out to the Blue Bloods, member of the Undrafted Sports Network. They're a college football podcast, a lot of fun. Go check them out. They say, I think he may be the best wide receiver on the Ravens. He has so much potential. I don't think he's the best wide receiver currently. Maybe it's me just being a massive fan of Hollywood Brown. I think Bateman is the best route runner on the Ravens. He may have the best hands on the Ravens. It may be Devin Duvernay, maybe even James Prochet or Tylen Wallace that has the best hands. They're just not going to have the opportunities Bateman gets to show off those hands. But we got to see what he's able to do in the NFL. It's very difficult to say right now. Now, by the end of the year, could he have proven he's the best wide receiver on the team? Absolutely he can. I hope he does. Me saying I think Hollywood is better is not saying I'm rooting against Bateman. I would love for Bateman to be better than Hollywood. I would love for him to prove it week one. But it's very difficult to have a better week one performance than Hollywood did, when he, took it, what was it, 45 and then 75 yards to the house on his first 2 catches. Absolute legend. Then we got, oh man, it's Tanja. I'm pretty sure it's Tanja, remembering from last time. Tanja. Saying, what's up, Trust the Bank? How you doing, Tanja? Welcome back to the stream. We got a funny question from here saying, will there be a Trust the Bank Fantasy Football League? May have to set something up. That could be something that could be a lot of fun that we set up. I don't know. If y'all want that, let us know. We wouldn't set it up until really close to before the season, because I hate drafting a team and then finding out, in preseason this guy tore his ACL and it ruins your entire season. So I'm a draft very late guy. Draft, the week before the season starts. So if it happens, absolutely it'll happen, but we'll see. Then we got a question from T. Higgins saying Lamar rushing yards expectations. Now, this is obviously assuming Lamar plays all 17 games of the season. 1,200, 1,300 yards. We got to remember when Lamar broke the rushing record, he didn't play in every game. He sat out week 17. So if Lamar plays every game of the season and he rushes for even less yards per game than he did when he broke the record, he could still absolutely shatter it, because he's going to be playing in 2 more games than what he played in that season. So I could see 1,250 yards for Lamar just off of him running it. He may even be running less than what he did that season. It's just the passing game is going to be so much better that's going to allow the rushing attack to be that much more deadly. So I don't know. I think 1,200 to 1,300 yards could be really, really reasonable for him.
I'm gonna go lower than that, man. I'm gonna say 800. The reason I'm saying 800 because you signed Gus to a 2-year extension. You got your premier running back in JK, which I feel like he's going to be another 1,000-yard rusher. But we're having Gus there for that incentive. I can see Gus going for either 800 or maybe 1,000 yards. Because it's for the simple fact that everybody keys on Lamar, especially when we're running the pistol. So if you have so many teams running that contain the outside on the defensive side of the ball, you got to give it to JK. You got to give it to Gus, and JK and Gus are both bruising running backs, but JK has a little bit more finesse than Gus, I would say. Like I will always go. I will call him Ray Rice 2.0 until he leaves the Ravens. Hopefully, he retired as a Raven. And then another reason I'm saying 800 yards rushing for Lamar is because we got a new offensive line. I feel like they're going to be blocking a whole lot. I feel like they're going to be blocking a whole lot better. I feel like they're going to gel off of. I feel like they're already gelling. You got Bradley Bozeman working on his snaps a ton daily, and then there's a commitment to the pass game. And I feel like Lamar Jackson wants to show that. Listen, I can actually. He's already shown that he can compete, but I can really be the quarterback like everybody else, like Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. I'm not just this dual threat quarterback. If I want to sit down in the pocket, if I want to go for 400, 500 yards, I can do that too. You on mute? You got yourself on mute.
Thank you. I was saying I wouldn't say 400, 500 yards is realistic, but he could absolutely have a plethora of 300-yard games because he doesn't have to run, or at least this year I don't think he has to run. So overall, I think he's just going to be able to be more efficient in his passes and his runs. We'll see overall what exactly happens. I see a great question I see a funny comment from T. Higgins the Goat saying, I wouldn't want to be called Ray Rice 2.0.
T. Higgins, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
I mean, isn't your running back Joe Mixon? Isn't that your running back? Didn't he beat up multiple people in college? Isn't that why he fell in the draft? Was because he was beating people up? I'm just saying. Everybody in the AFC North has got a player on their team historically that's had some problems. So
Kareem Hunt. But at the end of the day, you know what? We're not talking about their off the field activities. We're talking about their on the field activities. So, hey, that's why I call him Ray Rice 2.0.
Yeah, even wears the same number. Got a great question in here from the Blue Bloods. Again, shout out Blue Bloods. Go give them a sub if y'all want. Saying, which game on the schedule scares you a little bit? Potential upset game that the Ravens can't overlook. The biggest game, in my opinion, is the Rams game, just because I think Ravens fans looking at that game on the schedule, everybody's pointing to the Jackson 5 on Monday night. Like, that's the same team we're facing. It's not. They have an elite quarterback now rather than a suboptimal quarterback in Jared Goff, which they had that game. Now that they have, Matthew Stafford, I don't know why I was blanking on his name. Now that they have Matthew Stafford, that's a team that will be trying to win that game. And I think that so many Ravens fans are going to overlook that game. I don't think the Ravens will. I think they understand, the coaches understand that the Rams will be an elite team. But I think the fans are going to look at that game like it's a free win. Same thing as the Dolphins game. Like, they're going to look at that game like, oh, we've wiped out the Dolphins in the last, last four times we played them. I think we've outscored them like 165-30 or something like that. Absolutely ridiculous. And we're going to look at that and be like, oh yeah, we're going to smoke them again. Don't know if we're going to smoke them. Hopefully we do, but like those are more difficult games than what they have been in past years, so we can't overlook that. Either of those games, especially the Rams one, because it's very, very late in the season, right towards that ending playoff push. So that the Rams game is my biggest one that we can't overlook at all. What do you think?
You know what? I actually like that. They do have a good defense. Jalen Ramsey's back to Jalen Ramsey. And like you said before, they had one of the best defensive players on that side of the ball and in the NFL with Aaron Donald. So, it was different a year ago when we was able to, stop him and block him. We had a line with more chemistry. Now we have a line. By then we should have the chemistry, but at the end of the day, a man of that caliber is not going to always be stopped. He is going to chase down Lamar a couple of times, and either Lamar may get sacked or Lamar may hit him with a move like, "Hey, I saw you now." But a game that I'm I'm a little iffy about, I'll say Indianapolis. For the simple fact, it's early in the season. We're talking about week 5. You got one of the best middle linebackers in the league, and Darius Leonard. That man is, he's fundamentally sound. He knows how to hit, and he's an all around leader in that defense. And you may have Carson Wentz for week 5, and that running back. I forgot the running back. Was he from Stanford? Jonathan.
No, unfortunately not. He was from Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, young man definitely can run the ball. Last year they definitely had our number almost, even though we did pull it out. I definitely feel like it's going to be a little bit of animosity. Didn't they add DeForest Buckner from San Fran as well?
They had him last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So either way, they still have a good, solid team. They played the run very well. So week 5. I don't want us to be this pass-heavy team. I definitely want us to, to keep our identity. But I want to see if we are able to, utilize our passing game enough to have them on their heels and, pull out an upset. I would say the Chiefs, but the Chiefs been having our number. I'm not going to say it's an automatic L. I would love the W, but I would actually love the W against the Chiefs in the later rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I just think that it being week 2 against the Chiefs, the impact that it has on the season, you can absolutely come back from it. I also see Brandon says, plus they got Carson Wentz. Absolutely true. Carson Wentz, people may not like it. I'm a Carson Wentz fan. I love his game. I think that he has so much potential.
That's it. He's a good quarterback, but you don't know if he's going to be there by week 5.
Yeah. He definitely has had the injury bug, but so has every weapon he's ever had in Philly. They all had the injury bug. We got a great question in here from Joffrey. I'm not going to say the last name. I can't pronounce it. He says, where would you rank the Ravens based on current rosters as things stand? In the AFC, in the entire league in general? I would say in the AFC, I have them number 2. I have them behind the Kansas City Chiefs. I like the Browns roster. I think the Browns are probably 3. Titans are probably 4. Bills are probably 5. That's what I would say. But I just think that right now, when you look at comparing the Chiefs to the Ravens, I just don't think you can put the Ravens ahead of them. However, the Ravens have an incredible roster. In the NFL, I'm going to probably say number 2. I think it's the Chiefs and the Ravens have the best rosters in the NFL. Could teams be better? Absolutely. A lot of times teams with great rosters don't pan out, whether it's because of poor coaching, poor execution, whatever it is, it doesn't pan out. I really like I think the AFC is better at the very top than the NFC, but the NFC has significantly more depth. I would say the Rams probably have, the issue is they did lose pieces. You could say the Bucks. I'm not sold on the Bucks. There's definite weaknesses on that team. Kansas City just did not have the ability to exploit them because they were a perfect counter. I would say the Buccaneers, or I'm sorry, not the Buccaneers, the Saints, but they lost edge rushers. They upgraded a quarterback. People are going to dislike that, but Jameis Winston, Drew Brees last year was a terrible quarterback, and I don't know who needs to hear it. He was so bad, and Drew Brees is a historic player. I still think he's incredibly overrated in historic rankings, but I can talk about that some other time unless somebody wants to ask me about it in the comments. But overall, I think it's Chiefs, then Ravens, and then Browns, and I think that would probably be for the entire NFL. I think those would be the top 3 rosters, but the top 3 teams would not be those 3 teams in that order. But what do you think, Joshua?
As far as AFC, I definitely want to argue with that. For the NFL, man, I would have to go to the Bucks for the simple fact, they was able to keep just about all their pieces. They lost some wide receivers, but as far as that defensive side of the ball, they were able to keep 99.9% of those defensive guys that led that Super Bowl, man. And when you have those guys that led you to the Super Bowl, at the end of the day, defense win you championships, man. And I'll definitely say the Chiefs because with Pat Mahomes, anything can happen. Tyreek Hill, anything can happen. With Andy Reid, one of the best head coaches in the NFL, and they just know how to make things work. That defense, with I forgot the defensive lineman. I want to say Albert Jones. I could be wrong. He's a inside lineman. Inside lineman, y'all. Forgive me, y'all. I'm bad with names, clearly. But he's a Ted. Then you got the Honey Badger and stuff like that. I definitely would say the Ravens. Third, as far as NFL, we're growing. We definitely make diamonds. We apply a lot of pressure, and we make these guys household names. Unfortunately, sometimes when they do leave us, they don't have sometimes the best careers afterwards. Matthew Don, but hey, I'm calling. I'm saying it. He's not going to do as much in New England as he provided for us. But anyway, guys, that's how I feel, man. I feel like at the end of the day, rosters don't always make it to the championship. I mean, look at the NBA. Terrence Mann showed out for the Clippers and balled out. Now where they at? Western Conference Finals against Devin Booker and the crew. Now is Terrence Mann going to keep that same intensity? He might just will, because you got playoff Pete out there finally playing good ball too. So it's all about what you get out of those players on that team. It's not always about the big names, like McConnell said.
Yeah, and overall, the best roster in the NFC last year, I think, was definitely the Saints. I think they were probably the best roster in the NFL. The issue was Drew Brees sucked. That was the whole issue with them. Like, just because you have the best roster doesn't mean you win the Super Bowl.
Drew was trying to prove something. He was just out there trying to prove that he still had it. I mean,
and he did not prove it at all. It was really bad. He was like the uncle at the cookout that comes out and he's like, "Oh man, come on, give me that ball. I got this. I can dunk." And he goes out there, jumps up, smacks the forehead into the post and falls down. And he was like, "Man, I could have done it." And then he's done. He's done. He's laying out. He pulled his back out and he's just laying there on the bottom of the court. But we got a lot of questions in here. We see Eric G. Eric G knows what's up. Go Ravens, absolutely. We got a question from Warden Zero saying the Ravens' biggest weakness. How does it affect the season? The biggest weakness for the Ravens isn't roster-wise, in my opinion. In my opinion, the biggest weakness for the Ravens is the lack of willingness to stick to their game plan in Ravens football. They give up way too easily. If they played like the Titans do, like Mike Vrabel does, and they stick it out with the idea that the Ravens are going to outrun you, they would have more success. In so many big games, you see the Ravens go out and try and do things that are wrong. The first Titans playoff game, Mark Ingram gets hurt and they gave up on the run. Even though Gus Edwards was very successful with Lamar, they gave up on the run. They didn't run the ball. They tried to outthrow the Titans, which isn't Ravens football, especially with the roster they had then. They weren't able to do it. You go up against the Chargers and they just didn't play Ravens football. And that's their issue. Their issue is they don't stick to Ravens football and they don't try and win their way. They always try and beat the opponents at what the opponents do best. When we play against Mahomes, we try and outthrow them. Terrible idea. Run the ball against the Chiefs. That's how you beat teams like the Chiefs, is you run the football and you manage the clock. That's how you do it. Unfortunately, the Ravens don't do that very often. So I would say biggest weakness is lack of, that's really clunky, but lack of willingness to stick to Ravens football would be my answer. What do you think, Joshua?
Oh, shoot. Okay. Biggest weakness. Damn. What would I say? That's a good one. I mean, I don't even know how to come back behind that, McConnell. I would say when it comes to players, they have, they know when to give the guys the boot. They know when to make the right trades. But as far as the coaching staff, they do not know when to let go. For the simple fact, I say like Greg Roman. Greg Roman's been, frustrating us for the past years. He's been here with the Ravens. us as fans, we've been able to call out the offensive plays as many times as we've seen it. I mean, granted, we done went through the Marty Morningheimers. We done went to, um, the offensive coordinator that used to for San Diego. I remember his son with the Loyola here in Maryland. I forgot his name.
Yeah, we had a lot of OCs. Cam Cameron, Kubiak, all those
There
guys.
we go.
Marty.
Yeah,
Yep.
Cam Cameron. There we go. His son actually went to Loyola High School, one of the all boys school that's like top football here in Baltimore. Um, but it's like, when do you let go of Greg Roman? I mean, do you let go of him in week 5 if we was to lose to Indianapolis? Do you let go of him in week 2? If Eric DeCosta and Steve Bisciotti feels like um, hey, you done had some success, but we need more. We're trying to get a championship. Why are you not staying? Why are you not out there on the field? Why are you not really making adjustments to make us a better team? And playing more against our strengths. So I say Eric DeCosta, we're too much of homers when it comes to like coaching staff. You know,
Yeah.
We gotta learn how to let go. Like I said, we'll trade a player any day, but when it comes to like coaching staff,
And that's Harbaugh. Harbaugh's the one that decides that coaching staff. Harbaugh doesn't have, I don't know, he just doesn't like to fire his friends.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Why would you want to fire your friend? But like, there's been a lot of situations where he just doesn't want to get rid of guys where they need to go.
Yeah. And like I said, we've seen the commitment level to the passing game for this upcoming year. And if it's not translated onto the field, when do you make that call? If you want to make it to the Super Bowl, do you make that call abruptly? So
we need Hood Harbaugh. That's who we need.
Listen, Cam, listen, Harbaugh will be thugged up and gangster up to put somebody on the bench if they messed up on the play, but won't correct his coaching staff, man. I don't like that one bit. Only person he don't have to correct is Wink, because Wink gets his job done.
Yeah. Like, we saw what Harbaugh did when Jordan Lasley scored the touchdown. I can't remember who the corner was, but he scored the touchdown and threw the ball in the lake and got cut like that same day. And he was like, I learned that from Michael Crabtree. You score, you throw it in the lake. He's like, what? No. Michael Crabtree is not the guy to listen to advice for when it comes to keeping a cool, considering he fights. Who does he fight? Aqib Talib or Chris Harris Jr.? I can't remember which one he fights, but he always fought one of them.
Aqib Talib.
It was Aqib.
Always snatches his chain off.
Aqib Talib is a
yo, give me your chain, son.
We got a fun question in here. This one's from Warden Zero saying Clippers versus Suns. Who you got? For me, my NBA Finals prediction was Clippers 76ers. I had my initial bracket had the Bucks beating the Nets and the Sixers beating the Hawks. I really want the Hawks to win though. If y'all follow my Twitter, I may
Man.
I am tweeting about Trae Young so much. I love Trae Young ever since he was drafted.
Shit, man. He been talking his shit.
He's been backing it up too. I mean, he shot the lights out. But I want to stay with my original prediction. I'm an OKC fan. So, and I'm not an OKC fan that hates Paul George. I love Paul George. He is probably in the top 5 players of mine in terms of favorite to watch play. I love watching Paul George. I think his game is so smooth, one of the smoothest players in the NBA. I think he's going to take that step and he's going to get his team to the finals. And yes, they don't have Kawhi. Ty Lue is not a good coach, but oh well. I believe in Paul George, and they have good depth in LA if they use them. If Ty Lue can learn how to use rotations and whatnot, if they actually play Luke Kennard. Chris Paul severely struggles against big men, he struggles when teams play small ball, and the Clippers love to play small ball. They love to have Marcus playing at the 5 or Batum. They got both of them. Either can play the 5. Chris Paul struggles against that. We don't even know if Chris Paul's going to be playing, especially in game 1 because he's in the protocols and all that stuff. But I'm going to say Clippers in – I'm going to regret this. I'm going to say Clippers in 5. I think Paul George, we get prime Indiana Paul George, the man that almost took down the Heat. We're getting that Paul George back, and it's going to be so much fun to watch. And then they'll lose in the finals, but whatever. Go Clippers. That's what I'm going with. Who you got?
Man, if CP3 comes back, I got the Suns. Like Devin Booker just been on a tear, man, and him finally be able to finally play off ball how he wants to. You got DeAndre Ayton, you got Mikal Bridges. That's my dark horse for the Suns, man. I love him, man. I love that Villanova team with Brunson and Mikal and their 6 man that play for Milwaukee. I don't know if he's still there.
Pat Connaughton?
No.
No, Dante DiVincenzo.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So man, they had a great team. Jay Wright knows what he's doing. On that coach on the coaching tip. So I'm definitely going to take the Suns, man.
Okay, all right. We'll see. Is that biased from a Lakers fan not wanting the Clippers, or is that? Just kidding. Never.
I ain't got no problem with Los Angeles. Clippers. They're a cool team, but seeing how Devin Booker really been flourishing and really he been in his bag, man. And you gotta respect that game. Kawhi. I never really liked Kawhi. I just never liked him. I always respected Paul George ever since he been in the league. Even when he gave Miami a run for his money, him and Danny Granger was that was a crazy ass combination, man. A crazy.
And Roy Hibbert.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think they had David West. They had David West there too.
David West and Lance Stevenson. That team was all 7-footers. They were the biggest team in the NBA. And Lance Stevenson.
And they literally had Miami's number. I mean, they can play. All of them played good defense. They was raw. They was tough. It almost reminds you of that Indiana Pacers team when they had Steven Jackson, Ron Artest, and Jermaine O'Neal.
Oh yeah, those were some fun teams. They got into some trouble. But yeah, so I got Clippers. Joshua's got the Suns. I got a question from Joffrey asking if the Ravens come up short once again, first, second round exit, do you think Roman and Harbaugh's jobs can be in danger? Roman's job, absolutely. Harbaugh, I think so. I think if Harbaugh doesn't fire Roman and the Ravens continue to have offensive struggles in big-time games, at some point, it's Harbaugh's fault. If he doesn't have the willingness to fire Roman, it's okay if he doesn't fire him, if the Ravens lose to the Chiefs, that's fine. If the Ravens offense plays well against the Colts and the Ravens lose, but it's a 35-31 game, I'm okay with that. You don't have to fire Roman. But if we get to if they lose those games, we put up 10 points, the Ravens offense was very predictable. They didn't do anything. That's when it's okay, that's an issue. And if that continuously happens and Harbaugh doesn't actually fire Roman, his job's absolutely on the line. Because even though Harbaugh, I think, is a great coach, he's a top 10 coach in the league. So I saw a list that put him at number 2. That's ridiculous. He's not the second best coach in the league. He could maybe be put at number 5. That would be about as high as I'd put Harbaugh. Just because he's not a X's and O's coach. He's a player's coach that's going to build chemistry and motivate your team. But how can you motivate your team if you're not willing to get the guys that are the X's and O's guys? And if Greg Roman can't prove to be that guy this year, I still believe in Greg Roman. If he can't prove it, though, and Harbaugh doesn't take a step forward and fire him, then Harbaugh, I think, is gone after this year if it's due to Greg Roman. But if the Ravens just lose and it's they lost to the Bills and it was 45-40, that's unfortunate. But that's just a loss. If we lose to the Chiefs in a high-scoring shootout game, I don't think you fire either of them. But if we lost in a situation where the Ravens looked legitimately bad, like they have in recent playoff losses, that's when you fire him. And I think you fire both of them if Roman isn't fired by Harbaugh. But if they lose that game and like Roman's instantly fired, Harbaugh may stay another year. But if Harbaugh never fires him, then yeah, he's gone. Unfortunately, I'm a big Harbaugh fan.
Let's be real. Let's be real about it, guys. John loves Lamar for one reason. He's been saving that ass. He's literally been saving him. I mean, so I love John Harbaugh. I do respect him as a coach. He does bring, a high level of coaching to the field. Sometimes I don't agree with all his antics, as far as sitting guys down if they mess up, and he's had his run-ins. I think with Reed, with Ed Reed. I don't know if he was here. I don't know if John Harbaugh was here when Bernard Pilot was here, but I think they didn't see eye to eye. So some of those, those veteran guys, I know he likes to. He almost comes off it's either my way or the highway, and John comes off more as the quiet, stern type, while his brother Jim, he'll make a scene anyway. He don't care. Yeah, I don't give a damn. They looking at me.
I know for sure he doesn't make a scene when he's in Ohio playing Ohio State because he's never beaten them. But
but true, very true. So I mean, I do believe the package deal of letting go John Harbaugh and Greg Roman needs to happen if we have a repeat of a bad performance in the playoffs, or if we go under 500.
Oh, if we go under 500, we're definitely losing our coach. Like there's no way about it. If that happens, we're absolutely losing him. Because the only time Harbaugh's ever struggled is when he hasn't had. Well, one, he had Flacco get hurt.
Yeah.
We started Matt Schwab, and he tied his own record for most consecutive games with a pick six with 4. How does that even happen? How do you throw 4 games in a row with a pick 6? Absolutely ridiculous. Whatever. I do like Matt Schwab, though. Legend in Houston. And then, all right, that's a great question, though. Here's a fun one. This one's from Joe Knight asking, who do y'all most look forward to seeing the Ravens play this year? Well, I believe I'm going to be at the Chargers-Ravens game. So I'm looking forward to that, but maybe it's not for that. I'm a big Herbert fan, but Chiefs, I want to watch it. I want to watch the Ravens play the Chiefs. I wake up every time the Ravens play the Chiefs, and I am like, my stomach hurts. I'm like, oh man, we gotta play the Chiefs today. It's the only game that I'm ever just looking at and just like not confident going into that game. Every other team, I am confident we can beat them. Like I'm like, yeah, boom. Even if they're good, like I'm like, yeah, the Browns are good. Yeah, the Titans are good, but we can beat them. The Bills are good. Yeah, but we can beat them. The Chiefs is like, oh, man, we gotta play the Chiefs. Are we finally going to be able to do it? But at the same time, I want to watch that game because when it does happen, when we do get over that hump, it's like, let's see here. Who's the guy? I don't know. When Giannis finally gets over the hump in the NBA playoffs, if he wins tonight, it's going to be like, they finally did it. They got past that big team. Like I'm waiting for that moment. And when we finally beat the Chiefs, it's going to be that moment. Even if it's a week 2 win. It's going to feel amazing. It's going to be a massive confidence boost. So I think the Chiefs, and also at the same time, if we lose to them, it's week 2. Doesn't really matter. But a win would just be a massive momentum boost. So I'm going to say the Chiefs I'm most looking forward to see the Ravens play, but there's plenty of fun games that I'm excited to watch for the Ravens this year. What do you think, Joshua?
I definitely start out by saying the Chiefs, just for the simple fact, I may take Mom's there. She's a big Ravens fan. That'd be her birthday month, which is September. So, definitely the last time we took her to a football game, it was against the Patriots. It was under the lights. We was right there in the end zone. We actually got on TV when Lamar scored a touchdown. So, hey,
Yep.
if history repeats itself all over again, I'm all for it, and I love it, man. But another game I'll be excited for is, of course, our rivalry games, especially with the Steelers, we got a score to settle, always, hopefully, Devin Bush and Minka and JJ and TJ Watt, all healthy for those games, and Big Ben is there. I want to see two healthy teams really go at it, really play smash mouth football. I want to see our defense really go at the Big Ben. I want to see Lamar and company really do what we do, which is big plays, show out. I'm not expecting a blowout. I want a good hard fought game. Maybe a close, maybe come down to the wire type of game. One of those Ravens heart attack games, like back in the day.
One of those Torrey Smith back of the end zone game winner games.
Because the past couple of years, we've got spoiled. We got spoiled with the big marginal games. I love it. I can sleep good at night. But hey, it's not Ravens football until you play one of those divisional rivalry games, and we at the edge of our seat, waiting for that closing play.
Yeah. Lot of good games though to come out. I see CBG3 Green saying, "Great show daily. Thanks." Thank you, CBG3 Green. Donovan says, "I will take Ty over Doc."
Wow, Donovan.
I'm not saying that much though. It's not like Doc is some elite coach,
He's not bad.
Doc is a meh coach. I don't think Doc is terrible. He's not Luke Walton. Luke Walton, I think, is the worst coach in the NBA. I don't know how he still has a job in Sacramento. Ty, I just don't think either of them are going to transcend a team. If they have a really good team, Ty and Doc can coach them manageably, but they're not going to make the team better whatsoever. They're just going to go out there and put out weird rotations, and they're going to struggle. But it's better. They're not going to have a coach that makes the team significantly worse. They're just not going to make the team any better, if that makes any sense.
So what I'm hearing is Mark Jackson needs to be back in the league. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes. I want Mark Jackson back in the league. Absolutely.
Does Mark Jackson go back? If Mark Jackson comes back into the league, does he go to Dallas?
I don't want him to. I don't really like Dallas. I'm not trying to see Dallas be good with getting Luka trained up by the man who coached up Steph Curry.
But I'm hearing Porzingis may go to your team.
That is true. I have heard Kemba for Porzingis could absolutely be a trade that happens, which is kind of crazy that Kemba's playing for OKC now, but kind of wild. Great question here, saying from Damian Lee, saying, "Is Greg Roman the best OC for Lamar?" No, not at all. Greg Roman isn't the best OC for anyone unless the team is playing in 1930s. Like
Greg Roman is literally holding him back.
He just doesn't have the passing schemes and the passing game to go along with the running game. The perfect coach or OC that I could put with Lamar Jackson, I would probably say is Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan obviously Kyle Shanahan now is a head coach for the 49ers, which is funny because you're a 49ers fan. But now the Niners got Trey Lance, who is definitely a mobile quarterback. He isn't Lamar in that sense, but I think that Kyle Shanahan would be the best person that you could put as an OC or head coach with Lamar. I think because he develops an incredibly efficient run game, but also is able to scheme up wide open players, and he will tell the quarterback, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, Trey Lance, whoever, he will tell them, you're going to hit Kyle Juszczyk 35 yards down the field here on the right sideline. He will be wide open. They call the play. Kyle Juszczyk 35 yards down the sideline is wide open. Kyle Shanahan is an incredible play designer, probably the second best in the NFL in terms of offensive scheme, right behind Andy Reid. However, Andy Reid is significantly more involved in the passing aspect, whereas Kyle Shanahan has a great run game and utilizes motions and things like that to his advantage. So because he brings more in the run game, I would say Kyle Shanahan. I'm just worried about Eric Bieniemy, which I see Brandon said, just because the Chiefs pass. The Ravens need to pass, but they need a very, very good run scheme, because if they have a very good run scheme, they're nearly unstoppable with just a good run scheme. And then if you have a good passing scheme, and Kyle Shanahan is a great passing scheme, that's what's gonna take your team over the top. So Kyle Shanahan is my answer. But Joshua, what do you think?
I'm gonna call out a dark horse name. McConnell, gonna need your help. He used to coach at Oregon, and he had Marcus Mariota.
Oh no! Are you
Hey,
talking about Chip Kelly?
I'm talking about Chip. I'm talking about Chip.
Oh no!
I'm talking about Chip Kelly, man. Listen, he
Oh
even had
no! I
he
don't know
had
if I could be a Ravens fan if we had Chip. Oh,
man. Listen, I feel like he can make some special things happen with well, I definitely feel like he can make some special things happen with Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson can take. Look what he's done. He saved Lamar. He saved John Harbaugh. So I know he can damn sure save Chip Kelly's job. Or take
I
it,
don't
but
think so.
man, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he can, man. I think he can. But no, like really on a serious tip, I would actually be reaching out to Bobby Petrino. Um, yeah, the NFL is definitely a, a different ball game. It's faster, but Bobby Petrino believed in him. He knew he saw something special in Lamar. I mean, until this day, he still give praises to Lamar. And, he'll say like, that young man is a determined young man. He will be a Super Bowl winner. He's going to make a franchise flourish. So with that much belief in Lamar Jackson, do I feel like just out the chemistry and him playing to his strengths, him playing to his big arm, the way he can get the deep ball out and way he's dialed up his passing game back in Louisville. I feel like Bobby Petrino definitely can come to the NFL, with that chemistry with Lamar and have him playing back to MVP Heisman Lamar Jackson. So I really would like Bobby Petrino.
Bobby Petrino, that would be a very, very solid player or coach to bring in. I think he could definitely help out Lamar Jackson. We got an interesting question from Mike Coleman saying we should trade Boykin and Young for an edge.
No. First of all, we don't. We have Boykin is a flex tight end, so and what team really flourished. Second of all, Tavon Young hasn't even played a whole season, so Tavon Young it just he only had trade value on the strength of his name. If we
Yeah, he doesn't have yes. If we could somehow get a competent edge rusher out of these players, absolutely, but we wouldn't be able to. Miles Boykin doesn't have any trade value. He's got, I believe, 2 years left on his deal. He hasn't shown anything in the NFL. He hasn't shown any flashes whatsoever. If he had games where it was like, oh, Miles Boykin went for 125 yards this game and 2 touchdowns, then it's like, oh, wow, the Ravens just don't use him very much. It's like, no. Miles Boykin's best game of his career was probably the Seahawks game in which he caught that 50-yard pass, and it's only because he caught that one pass. Like he just has not had any flashes. Could he have flashes with another team? Absolutely. I'm not taking that away from him, but his value is like, he wasn't if he was a first round pick that wasn't producing, maybe he has some value, but he was a third round pick, doesn't have a ton of value. And then Young, he's got 1 year deal, 1 year left on his deal. He's paid a ton of money.
I think so. Yeah.
And overall, is he even going to be able to play is a major concern. So overall, while yes, I would somehow do it if we could find one, I just don't think it's possible to find one, and they wouldn't be competent. That's why, for me, my favorite trade that I was proposing for an Orlando Brown Jr. trade was trading Orlando Brown Jr. and our second round pick for Josh Allen and either the Jaguars Josh Allen, the edge rusher, not Bills Josh Allen, the quarterback. Josh Allen and either pick, I think they had 25, which is where they took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or they had, pick number 33. And trading for either of those 2 picks, I would 100% be down. That's what I would want to do. That's what I wanted to do because I love Josh Allen. I think he's a great young edge rusher, could be very, very special in this league. Top 10 pick as an edge rusher. and trading Orlando Brown Jr. for him could be very solid. Like that was the only way that I felt like we could get a competent edge rusher in a trade, because we don't have the cap space to trade for a guy like in the last live with the viewers. We talked about trading for Khalil Mack, trading for Chandler Jones, those type of players. We don't have the cap to trade for any of those players, right, unless we traded away a guy that had similar cap numbers. But we don't. Are we trading away Marlon Humphrey? No. We're definitely not trading away Marlon. He's the only guy that's getting paid that type of money, or maybe Ronnie Stanley, but we're definitely not trading him. Those are the only two guys that are making big time money and would actually have value, because Calais Campbell no longer has high value. He's very, very old. He's going into his 14th year in the NFL. He's still a good player, but nobody's going to trade for 1 year of Calais Campbell. Like, they're not going to trade a young edge rusher.
There's a reason why I'm at a bouquet right now.
Yes, there is a reason why we are all hoping for the breakout year of second-year or defensive tackle Justin Madubuike. But it's just yes, I would do it. Should we? Yeah. Can we? No.
I'm about to say,
if Eric DaCosta works the EDC magic,
I'm all for it. I'll be all for it. But as the GM on the other side, I'm like, the hell you giving me a broken down nickelback and you're giving me a flex tight end? I mean, I guess I can make him a tight end. Let me see if he wants to be a tight end first. If he tell me he would, like, I played wide receiver all my life, well, you're gonna play tight end for my team if you still want to be in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like,
so this one's,
who do you see Miles Boykins like really being a wide receiver for?
I feel like he could be a wide receiver for a team that needs depth or just needs a big body wide receiver. Like he could go to Atlanta. He could, if they had the money to keep him, he could succeed there. He could probably go to San Francisco. He could succeed there. He could go to really any team that is lacking wide receivers. I think he could probably go to Indianapolis, and he can maybe be the wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 over there. Like, he wouldn't go anywhere and be a 1, but he could go somewhere.
He needs to have a Chris Matthews season, like a Seattle Seahawks Chris Matthews season, in order to to have value. We know what Chris Matthews did. If y'all don't remember,
Miles Boykin isn't going to have the opportunity to do it with the Ravens. I just like, unfortunately, I feel like it's time for him to move on and get a fresh start. Like I root for Miles Boykin. If he was to leave the Ravens, I would obviously be rooting for him. But I see something from Damian Lee, who's the 49ers fan, saying, I had a trade option, trade Eric Armstead for Orlando Brown Jr. Heck no. Eric Armstead, defensive end. Unfortunately, the 49ers decided to take Eric Armstead instead of a dude out of Stanford. I don't know if y'all have heard of him. He's the best running back in the NFL. His name's Christian McCaffrey. Instead, they took Eric Armstead instead of him. Eric Armstead is he could be a competent player on a studded defensive line. For example, in San Francisco, when he was playing with Nick Bosa, when he was playing with their defensive tackle, who's now in Indianapolis, and blanking on the name. And, when he was playing with those guys, and also playing with, one of the best speed rushers in the NFL in D Ford, pretty sure it's D Ford who was over there. That allowed Eric Armstead, who I believe led the team in sacks Nick Bosa's rookie year, when Nick Bosa won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Everybody looked at that and it was like, oh, Nick Bosa was so good. But Eric Armstead led the team in sacks because he got to play alongside those other studded players on that defensive line. That was a monster defensive line that doesn't get talked about enough. People like to talk about Sherman being in the back end of that defense. Fred Warner was in that defense. Like, very, very good players in the back end, but that defensive line was very, very good, and Eric Armstead was the worst player on that defensive line, in my opinion, in terms of that pass rush. So I would not – it was Solomon Thomas that was taking over McCaffrey. Either way, both of them not ideal picks, whether it's Eric Armstead or Solomon Thomas. Both were taken very, very early. But you are right. It was Solomon Thomas, because it was – I just remember Solomon Thomas. Funny stuff. But, yeah, so for me, like, Eric Armstead was not the type of pass rush that we're looking for, because we needed somebody young, somebody with a lot of potential, which is why I like Josh Allen. But if the Ravens somehow got like a first round pick with the deal, like, They got San Francisco's. What did they have? They had pick 13, pick 12, something like that before they traded up and selected at number 3. I can't remember which pick they had, but they traded up with the Dolphins. I think it was pick 13, or maybe it was 12. If we got that pick along with Eric Armstead, now you're talking. But I don't think they would have traded that pick up because they wanted to trade up and get a quarterback, which is what they did. But also I see we got the legend Paul in the chat, Mod Paul. Shout out to Paul, the only mod, I'm pretty sure. I don't think anybody else has been modded. But yeah, so we got a lot of there were a lot of possibilities. I'm very happy with the trade that we ended up going with, though. I think that the Ravens did good. I think they got good value, even though a lot of people were very upset with it. We got a question from Rye Joe saying, you think Rashad Bateman breaks 500 yards this season? Yeah. We talked about it earlier. I think Joshua said 700. I said 800 yards. I really hope he breaks 500. If he doesn't hit 500, that would be a very unfortunate season.
He's gonna get those numbers, man. That's the thing about it. He's gonna have a lot of opportunities because I feel like a lot of teams, feel like we just talking that talk, to the press about being committed to the passing game, and I think we're gonna show. I think week 1 we're gonna show how committed we are into the passing game. Not saying that we're gonna just full out play 80 passing plays. I definitely feel like it's gonna be a nice ratio between pass and rushing, but I feel like it's gonna be more passing than rushing.
Yeah, I mean, in the modern NFL, it's always going to be more passing than rushing. I think people look at the Ravens and they expect us to rush the ball like 60% of the time, when in reality it's still like 40, maybe 45% of the time. But also you have to think about the amount of rushes that the Ravens have that are due to scrambles on design pass plays. Which is a significant amount of their rushing is coming from Lamar scrambling. That's probably about 10 to 20% of their rushes is Lamar scrambling, which inflates the statistics a little bit in that end. But let's see. What other questions do you guys got? We can answer, whatever questions. Sorry about the background noise. My sister's throwing a party, so, it's pretty loud, but let's see. What do we got? Well, I know we had a bunch of questions earlier. I'm going to scroll up. If somebody asks a question, I'll read through that. Let's see here. Here's a question from Carly Delva asking, what specific changes do Lamar and Greg Roman need to make the passing game better? The biggest thing is the concepts and schemes that are used in the passing game. Too many times the Ravens are calling out schemes that are sending players to similar directions of the field, especially when routes like double moves are being used, and players like Hollywood, players like Bateman should thrive on the double move. Hollywood does thrive on the double move. Cooks defenders. However, the issue is a lot of times there will be a guy in the same direction where the double move is being done. When the Ravens are throwing deep, I think a lot of people will remember the Hollywood Brown reception against the Titans in the first Titans playoff game right before the end of the half. It was 35, 40-yard reception. And Hollywood's like, boom, great catch. There were like 4 defenders there. Why? Because there was another guy right next to Hollywood. Why are you sending 2 guys to the same spot? And things like that. Hollywood beats guys on double moves. Lamar can't throw it because Mark Andrews is running a fade to that exact spot. Those types of things need to go away. We have way too many times where guys are running routes to the exact same spot as other players and where they already are. Because even if Bateman, Hollywood, Duvernay, Tylen, Sammy, Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, Ben Mason, Patrick Ricard, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, even if any of those guys beat their man, they're running right into another man, and they're covered. That's a major issue. That's a major schematic issue. They need to have players go to their own part of the field. And there are concepts that do rely on, putting guys in similar space, pick plays, running like flood concepts initially are kind of in the similar space, but they end up branching away. And so that throw, when you make that throw, they're not in the same spot. But a lot of times it's just unfortunately all in the same spot. And that's why Lamar can't make a throw. And that's why the Ravens offense struggles. But that's what I would change.
Something I would definitely change is taking the leash off Lamar. When I say this, when you see him play, you don't see him calling audibles. You don't see him doing any checkdowns or anything of that nature. I mean, of course, if he needs to put somebody in the right position, he'll do that. If he needs to send somebody in motion, he does that. But it seems like, for the Ravens, and it's been like this always, until Joe Flacco got Gary Kubiak, that's when you start seeing Joe Flacco be in a more calmer position. You see him calling out, doing more checkdowns. You see him calling out more plays or the audibles and things of that nature. I don't feel like, the trust is there yet for Lamar Jackson. Why, I don't understand. But they don't let him be free. And I feel like if you let this young man be free, you let him loose, you'll see, him elevate. Because right now, him and Greg Roman, he holds up his potential to keep on growing as a quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, we've seen it with Kaepernick. Unfortunately, he's not getting another chance in the NFL, but right now it is what it is. But I feel like, if Greg Roman stays here, it's gonna hold him back. And if Greg Roman does stay here and don't, open up the playbook and let Lamar really flourish, I feel like we're gonna just always be a playoff team and never make it to the Super Bowl.
And I think that shows how much of an impact we need out of T. Martin and Keith Williams. Because if they're able to come in and legitimately help change Greg Roman's playbook and scheme, that will allow Lamar to get more comfortable. It's just whether or not Greg Roman takes in the advice of those other the coaches, and if he doesn't, he's going to be gone. Because the Ravens hired Keith and T for a reason. They're not going to come in here and not make a difference. If Greg Roman isn't listening, they will fire Greg Roman. I firmly believe that. Because all of the players are hyping up those guys. How often do you hear guys be like, oh man, Greg Roman's the best?
Never.
The only time I hear Lamar talk about Greg Roman is when he's like, yeah, so they're guessing our plays, and I had to, just tell Coach Roman and just be like, yeah, hey, they know what we're doing. Can you help me out? It's like the only time I've ever heard anybody talk about Greg Roman in like a press conference or whatever. Like overall,
the only praise G-Ro is Sammy Watkins. Other than that,
yeah. But he wasn't even praising current G-Ro. He was praising, the G-Ro that had success in Buffalo with a not very good roster that led the league in rushing back with Super Bowl champion Tyrod Taylor. I always refer to Super Bowl champion Tyrod Taylor as such because people forget he's a Super Bowl champion. But yeah, I think that, Greg Roman is going to be an interesting thing. I think he needs to be less involved in the offense. I think the Ravens need to implement Key and Teeth significantly more than they implemented David Culley, who sucked. But we got a good question from Rye Joe saying, you think we keep 3 true tight ends and use Ben Mason as running back 4? No, I don't think that happens. I think we do keep 3 true tight ends, though. Honestly, I don't expect Ben Mason to make the roster. And that's not a knock against Ben Mason, but the tight end we don't need 2 fullbacks. I'm saying that right now. We got Patrick Ricard. He's our fullback. If he ever gets injured, we will have Ben Mason on the practice squad ready to go. If we have a tight end that gets injured, just like looking at the tight ends and who Ben Mason is competing with, he's competing with the weapon, Josh Oliver. He's competing with, Eli Wolf. He's competing with a ton of guys, Jacob Breland, a ton of guys with a lot of potential that are like pure tight ends. And also, if we're going to keep a running back 4, it's not going to be a fullback. We are going to keep Nate McCrary, who is a very explosive, shifty, quick running back that went undrafted, and he could be our running back 4 because honestly, Justice Hill, I don't consider him a running back on our team. He's a special teams player, and he is a phenomenal special teams player. He will make the roster no matter even if we sign Gurley or Le'Veon Bell. Justice Hill is making this roster. He's our gunner. He is our best gunner.
He's on the spot for sure.
And so, like running back 4, we need 3 running backs that we can put on the field because if there's ever an injury, we need somebody. And I think we need a running back 4, but we can't have it be Ben Mason because we can't hand the ball off to Ben Mason. Like, I mean, you could. It wouldn't be successful, but you could. Like, Nate McCrary is a guy, and if we're to sign somebody, like we brought in Gurley, if we're to sign somebody, then boom, we can do that. We'll be able to have that success with that final player, give them that opportunity because, you know, the Ravens and their streak of undrafted players, I don't think they had one last year, but almost every year of the Ravens organization's history, they've had an undrafted player. I think it could be McCrary this year. I just don't think that Ben Mason – I think he's a pick for the future because Patrick Ricard, I don't think, stays in Baltimore once his contract is up because we have Ben Mason who can replace what Patrick Ricard does very well. But I don't know. Maybe we keep Ben Mason as a DT, as a defensive tackle and use him as defensive line depth, and maybe every once in a while he'll play special teams and maybe he'll get a passing play and sub in for Patrick Ricard. But if he's going to make the roster, it's going to be as a DT4 or DT5. But I don't know. What do you think, Joshua?
I definitely think. I'm not really big on I wasn't really even big on the big Ben Mason move. I actually liked the guy last year from Wyoming. His father was a wrestler. His last name started with an R. I forgot. I thought he was actually going to stick around because he was a big body guy. He played running back and he played fullback as well. Real tough. He was almost reminded me of Peyton Hillis. So I definitely see our scheme of offense, it would be more important for us to keep 3 true tight ends versus, you know, keeping a Ben Mason on the team.
Yeah, which is kind of sad because you obviously want the players that you draft to make the team, but I think no team would keep 2 fullbacks. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, it was the olden days, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if this was 1987, I think we could keep 2 fullbacks and we could have a lot of success. Let's see if there's any other questions. I got to go in a little bit, but if there's a couple more questions, we could absolutely go through them. I'll touch on this. He says, we are a top 10 scoring offense the last 2 years. What are you guys talking about? Yes, this is true. We are a top 10 scoring offense. Where do we rank when we actually play good teams? Yeah, we can score 50 against the Dolphins. We can score 40 against the Rams. We can score 40 against the Bengals. We can score 40 against the Browns. What happens when we play Kansas City? What happens when we play Tennessee? What happens when we play Buffalo? What happens when we play Indianapolis? We don't score. Our offense is completely stagnant. What happens when we play the Chargers in the playoffs? Our offense is completely stagnant. Yeah, sure, it's nice. It's nice to have a top 10 scoring off. We're the number 1 scoring offense in the last 2 years combined. Like, we are. However, so many of that comes from the lack of, you know, competition that we play when we play the Bengals, when we play against the, the bad team. When we play against bad teams, we kill them. And that's why our numbers are inflated. But when we play, if you watch the Ravens offense against any good team, it looks like a completely different team. When we play the Chiefs, it's a completely different team than the team that plays the Bills. Or I'm sorry, not the Bills. I don't know why I said the Bills. No, we struggle against the Bills too. The Bengals. We just don't run the ball as much against the Chiefs, even though they're poor against the run. Like, it's just a different offense. And that's the issue, is that it's not the same team every single week. It's like if an NBA team came out and, you know, let's say it's the Golden State Warriors or whatever, and they chuck up a bunch of threes, or the Houston Rockets with Harden, and they chuck up a bunch of threes, and it's like, that's what they play. That's what the Ravens do. We score points. We score a lot of threes. And then they play against some team like the Lakers or whatever, and they play against the Lakers, and they're like, we're going to shoot 5 threes a game. It's like, what? That's not your football. That's what the Ravens do when they play the Chiefs. They're like, we're going to play super conservative, not try and do anything, and then they get the rocks kicked out from under them. And he says, yeah, you don't go 14-2 playing just bad teams. Yeah, we have an incredible defense, and we went 14-2, and the teams we lost to were against. And he says playoffs are a different period. Well, our offense has only worked in one playoff game. That was last year against the Titans. It's the only time our offensive worked in the playoffs, which is when offensive scoring matters. It's great to be good in the regular season, but I'd much rather be great I'd rather be good I'd rather go 10-6, now 10-7, be a wild card team, and then have the best offense in the postseason, than to go 14-2, get to the postseason, and then have one of the worst offensive productions. And he asked, did the Bills' offense work? It worked a lot better than the Ravens, and the Ravens have a much better defense than the Bills. Like, the Bills' offense relative to the Ravens' offense was significantly better last year in the playoffs. I see we got Engraven in the chat. Welcome in, Engraven. Say they actually try to play Chiefs-style football when they play Kansas City. Exactly. They try and out-throw Mahomes. That's not how you win. They win when they run the football. Like, that's, you got to take it to that next level. Warden Zero says you can't be the same team in the playoffs as you were in the regular season. It's another level. You have to get better when you get to the playoffs. You can't take a step back and try stuff that's new and doesn't work. You got to run the ball with what's been working, and the Ravens are yet to do that really in the playoffs, other than that one game against the Titans. Joshua, what do you have to add on the Ravens, kind of offense and stuff?
Listen, man, we could be a top offense in the world until we win a Super Bowl. That stuff don't matter. If you're not really playing if you're not playing better in the second season is the playoff season. Then what you was doing, to get to the second season, it's null and void, because once we lose, oh man, we done won all these games. We got here, and we did nothing, man. I'm tired of seeing this. I want John Harbaugh gone. I want G-Rowe gone. Then people want to start. Then people want to start down Lamar. Oh, he's a running back. They're going to go back to that stuff. Oh, we should never. If we don't make it to the Super Bowl and we sign him before the season starts, watch how everybody's going to say, "Oh, we should have never gave him this amount of money." Yeah, all that's going to start. So at the end of the day, we can be this extravagant offense. We can be, beautiful. We can be dancing on the field and everything. But until we dance how we want to dance in the second season and get what we want, which is the Lombardi Trophy, that really doesn't mean anything.
Let me ask you this, Joshua. I know you like basketball. Is the 2015, 2016 Golden State Warriors the greatest basketball team of all time? They went 73-9. They set the record for most regular season wins ever. They lost to LeBron in the finals, but what regular season, right? That's what matters. If the regular season is all that matters, that's the greatest team of all time.
I mean, didn't the GOAT go 16? Didn't the GOAT go 16-0 and lose in the Super Bowl?
That would be absolutely true. 2007 Patriots. Like, that season doesn't matter. You can't be, if you don't win it all, it doesn't matter what things you have. And what happened to arguably, I think many people would say that is the greatest offense of all time, was the 2007 Patriots. What happened when they got to the Super Bowl? A man named Michael Strahan and Justin Tuck and Osi Umenyiora, they came out and they shut that offense down. They shut it down completely. And the Patriots lost. I can't remember what the final score was. It was like 21-17 or something like that. Like, very low scoring for a team that averaged over 30 a game. It's very unfortunate, but if it doesn't work in the playoffs, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If the Ravens don't make a change to what they're doing and they keep getting to the playoffs and getting thwomped and having their offense completely stifled, that's a problem. And you can't expect it to just change. You got to make adjustments. You got to maybe the adjustment may be to not make adjustments and play Ravens football, but that's still an adjustment in and of itself. The Ravens got to do something to not be stifled in the playoffs, and that's the problem. Yeah, sure, it's nice to have a top 10 offense in the regular season. It is. But if you're not good in the playoffs, how happy is Giannis Antetokounmpo with his recent 2 years? He's not happy at all. He won the MVP in back-to-back years. He won a Defensive Player of the Year. He's been the best player in the regular season. He's been getting locked down in the playoffs completely, not winning. That's what's unfortunate. You got to be able to step up. You can't step down, and that's why there's a problem. The Ravens don't step up. And Hawkins says, what are we talking about? We're talking about how the Ravens need to make a change for their offense, because you said, what are you talking about? The Ravens are top 10. Yeah, we are top 10. But
Rockman, when you say the adjustment is Lamar, when the adjustment is Lamar is 24 or 25, are you talking about his age? I was just trying to.
Yeah, I think he's talking about his age, but at the same time, when it comes to age, yeah, he's young. That doesn't mean the team can't be better. Lamar being young has nothing to do with Greg Roman not playing well. Coaching a good game by changing the scheme completely. That has nothing to do with Lamar's age. That has everything to do with Greg Roman. I don't think he makes his decisions based on how old Lamar is. Engraven says, we know Ravens will have regular season success. It's time for them. It's been time for them to be able to get it done in the postseason. Absolutely. Look at what happened.
That's all we're saying.
For Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, who cared about regular season Joe Flacco? Regular season Joe Flacco was not elite, but January Joe was an elite quarterback every time. Absolutely. That's what mattered. I'd rather have a season with January Joe than have a dominant regular season from Lamar Jackson that ends up with an offense that gets stifled, because Joe, you knew in the playoffs, was going to ball out. Almost every time. There were very few games that Joe Flacco played in the playoffs where he looked legitimately bad. There were games where the Ravens lost because of Billy Cundiff, Julian Edelman throwing a 35-yard touchdown pass, some unfortunate things that happened to the Ravens, the Steelers games. Unfortunate, but Joe played well. We got to step up.
Man, at this point, I wish Rockland would have came in early, because I would say send him the link, man. If he wasn't wrapping up, so he can get his point across. I'm trying to understand him, man.
We got a good question from Warden Zero saying, if Greg Roman ran a system similar to what Lamar ran in Louisville, would the offense be more successful? Honestly, I'm going to say no. The issue with running a college offense in the NFL, this is why it didn't work. That's why so many college coaches struggle so much when they get to the NFL, whether it's Chip Kelly or it's Jim Harbaugh or it's even guys like Nick Saban don't come up to the NFL. It's the same thing with college basketball coaches, Coach K and all those guys. When you go up to the NFL, when you go up to the professional level, it's a different game. If you're a coach, obviously Louisville is in the ACC, but I'm going to use the Big 12 as an example. When you are a coach in the Big 12, if you are the coach of Oklahoma, you know that there ain't no defense in the Big 12. You put any guy on that route, he's going to get 20 yards of space. They're going to be wide open. That's how college works. Unless you're playing in the SEC and you're playing against the University of Alabama, your guys are most likely going to be open if you are playing for a good program. They're going to be open. You got good wide receivers. So the schemes are much more difficult to translate over to the NFL, because all of a sudden, maybe there's one good cornerback that can legitimately play in each conference. Now you've got one or two on every single team that can clamp. That's a big difference. So the schemes that you design in college, will work against everybody because nobody has a corner that's going to be able to shut down unless you've got Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn. Like, those were like two guys that were like, wow, these guys can actually clamp. But you still got three other, DBs that can't cover very well, and they get absolutely toasted. That's an issue. So when they let's put a guy on a post, let's put a guy on a drag, they'll both get open. That doesn't work in the NFL because now you're going against, imagine you're a coach and you go against the Ravens and you're like, oh yeah, let's just do that against Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. They're going to clamp that. Your schemes have to be so much more precise. They have to be so much more in tune, and it's much more difficult. And that's not saying you can't have success. It's just saying that the same scheme and system, you have to definitely adapt it significantly to be able to work in the NFL because, we saw what Lamar's weapons from Louisville were able to do in the NFL. We have to see what Tutu Atwell is able to do. But his guy, Jalen Smith, I believe is his name, dominated with Lamar. Why? Because he was fast and guys can't cover. So with Lamar, he just ran and Lamar would throw him open because he would just be wide open. And that's not a knock against them. That's just what college football offense is like. That's why we get so many 75 to 30 games because there's no defense. So it's very difficult to translate that system. However, you can incorporate elements and formations and things like that. So it could be better if you did that, but you wouldn't be able to run just that scheme. It would not be able to translate to the NFL because it would be very difficult. But I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. I think, it's just very difficult to translate a college scheme. But
hey man, I know I always call for Bobby Petrino's number, but like I said before, man, it definitely would have to be. He would have to upgrade and understand that the game is faster. But with with Greg Roman, I don't know. Greg Roman reminds me of what's the phrase? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. And Greg Roman is that old dog, and he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to learn any new tricks. So I feel like if you try to give him any suggestions, in regards to maybe a college schematic type of offense, I don't think he would implement it into his playbook, to help Lamar out. So
yeah. And I think the final thing that we'll talk about is this, because this is something that's very important. Yardage is by far the most overrated stat in football. By far. You can't tell me that you watched that Titans game and say, wow, the Ravens offense looked pretty good. Yeah, Lamar had 510 yards in that game. That if you told me, 510 yards, you'd be like, oh, wow. What happened? They get to the red zone. They can't score. They struggle. They throw. I think Lamar threw an interception in that game, I believe. I can't remember 100%. But, you have to look at the points scored and the efficiency of the offense. The Ravens were down significantly. The Titans were playing prevent defense most of the game because they were up by so much for so long that Lamar started, late in the fourth quarter, Lamar just started running and just being like, oh, yeah, because they're playing 25 yards off the line of scrimmage. And so Lamar's able to just step forward and he's able to run. He's get a lot of yards. He's able to throw checkdowns and he gets a lot of yards. The injuries, yes. Mark Ingram was injured. What happened? The Ravens stopped running the football. This is the problem Joshua and I were talking about, saying the Ravens need to change their idea because they stopped playing Ravens football. They didn't play Ravens football because Mark got injured. They had Gus Edwards, who had proven to be a very dominant player with Lamar the previous season. During the season, overall, Lamar was able to have a lot of success. And he says, have you seen Brady's playoff numbers in the run of the Super Bowl? Have you seen his defense's numbers? The amount of sacks that defense forced? That's what got them there. It wasn't Brady. It wasn't the offense dominating everybody. It was the defense.
What wins you championships?
Defense.
Okay, then. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm good. I ain't got nothing else to say.
All right. Sorry, everybody, for the shorter stream. I got something to do. But obviously, come back next week. We'll be talking about, actually, I think I'm going to be out of town next week. So I don't know if we'll be able to do it. Well, I'll figure it out. I'll let y'all know. Follow the Twitter and stuff like that. But thank you everybody for watching. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content. Like the stream if you liked the stream. And we'll see all of you guys again then.